What's our topic? Oh,
Well, tonight we're going to talk about, so it's kind of a combination of two books. A lot of us just finished the Perfection Detox, and I'm finishing right now. I have 30 minutes left of the Confidence Code. And so that's a book I've been listening to about women and confidence, how our brains handle it differently, how the way not only our chemistry is, but also by the way we're raised, how that all intersects, and how we can then become like tune into that and become more confident. So through listening to both those things in the last few weeks, I wanted to kind of tie them together and talk about failure. Because I think there's a lot of times where we wait to do something until we think we'll be good at it, or we wait to do it when the time's right. And, you could call it being motivated. You could call it time's right. You could call it a lot of different things, but we're waiting because we don't have the confidence that it's going to go well, or that we can handle it, or that, we'll get the result we want. So in thinking about, your last couple weeks, is there something or somewhere where you've been like, okay, I'm just going to wait and do that? And maybe not, but I know I'm putting everybody on the spot. But what I want you to think about, like, I guess you could call it, it's also a procrastination, right? Because you're just not sure how things are going to go. So when we think about this with nutrition, I think about it in terms of like, maybe you are on a vacation and you're just getting back and you're like, okay, well, I'll get back into things next week, or, in a few days, or maybe right now we're like, okay, I'll start Monday because it's May 1st. But in reality, even just a small effort toward whatever you're working on, let's call it meal planning for just example purposes. And even just like today, if I just made some brown rice and I made my breakfast for the next 3 days, I'm further ahead in my practicing. I'm further ahead in my preparedness than I would be just waiting until Monday. Because who knows what happens between now and Monday. I could be like, oh, this week isn't really a good week to start. I have to, I have a couple dinners out and the kids have this. And so I think what the thing I'm really getting from both of these books is failing fast is the term that they used in one of them. And that means just taking the action and see what happens, right? Just make the decision, take the action, move forward, because waiting for something to be the right time, the best time, when you think you're ready, it's not going to help you. It just keeps it on your mind. So if you're constantly thinking, and I'm, this is obviously applicable to like everything in life, but I'll keep it to nutrition. But it's like, if you're always thinking, oh, I really should be, making some extra food so I have a lunch tomorrow. I really should be doing some meal prep on Sundays. So even if you just meal prepped one thing on Sunday, you're still farther ahead. And then if you did that each Sunday, okay, then you start developing that habit of setting aside that time of doing the things. And then each Sunday, you're like, okay, this is a little easier. I've now practiced it. It's easier. So why don't, maybe I'll add in 2 meals, or I'll, do it on Sunday and Wednesday, or whatever is working, right? And it's those small steps that seem like they're not going to be anything that really make a difference. It's a huge difference between starting something and waiting until you think it's the right time or you're going to be good at it. Because I think sometimes we get into a nutrition plan, especially something, if you haven't followed one and you're looking at a portion fix, you're like, whew, there's a lot of colors going around here. It's a lot of counting. Do I get to eat these containers more than once in a day? What is happening? Like, where's the food list? There's a lot of calorie and color things happening. I don't know what, it's all out there. But, you know, we've talked a lot on this call about just focusing on something right away, right? So maybe it's just trying to get your breakfast in a container, and then you're just tracking through today to see what you do end up with. And then each time you can get a little better at it. I'm a big proponent of thinking about your nutrition plans, about your workouts as practice. You are practicing a habit. You're practicing something new in your life that helps you get to where you want to be. And without that practice, just thinking about it isn't enough, right? Like, what if our kids just thought about a sport? Well, I think I'd be pretty good at swimming. Then all of a sudden they go into a pool and turns out you actually have to practice something, right? You actually have to like put it to use before you're really good at it. So that's kind of where, like, between these two books, I just feel like that was such a big, obvious thing. And I think as women, we tend to be afraid to fail. We tend to be afraid to take the risk sometimes of what is that, you know, what does it look like? What if I follow this portion fix plan and nothing changes? I don't personally believe that's true. Your weight may not change, but you will have changed. You would have followed a plan for 30 days. You would have made your food. You would have ate whole foods. You would have been, you know, you're following a macro plan. You would have changed. It may not be the set results you think should be the change. And I think that's where we kind of, I personally have been steering away from that, you know, result piece versus, you know, let's really focus on the work we can do and get in the good habits and to keep things moving regardless of the season. Last week we talked about when the shit hits the fan and, you know, this is when these things come into play. When your life is stressful, when things are crazy, you go back to your habits. And so whatever is most ingrained, then that's what you go back to. Okay, I got to look at my notes here because I feel like I went a little off topic. Let's see here. Okay, we talked about practicing. So in the confidence code, that's where they talked about failing fast. And that was someone's advice. She is an executive and she's like, the best thing I did for myself was fail fast. And that means you make the decision and you go with it and you see what happens. And then you adjust and then you go with it, but not making a decision. What's the word for that? It's like, decision constipation, I think is what Julie used to call it. Does that sound right? Have you heard her say that too? Yeah. So decision constipation, right? You're just, it's that decision is always just waiting to be made and it's just sitting there. And it takes up so much of your mental energy, but just making the decision. So pick the thing that's not working or hard in your nutrition and take a step. Like take a step toward whatever that is. I was talking with someone today and they talked about how they're on this plan again now. They're using a different plan. So, but then they talked about how they're, how they always kind of go off of it. And I'm like, well, why do you go off of it? Right? It doesn't, I mean, we all are going to fail in our plan at some point. At some point, you're going to have a day where you either didn't track, you didn't eat the right foods, something's going to happen. Right. And so if it continues, or if you feel like I don't want to say you're doing better off of it, but you keep wanting to stay off of it, then I think you really have to look at why. Why are you not, like, what about that plan wasn't working for you? Or what about your mindset wasn't working with that plan? Because the plan could be really great or the plan could be crap. Don't know. But it's also the two pieces together, your mindset plus the plan, and those things need to meet up. And so when you're struggling with something, I think it's really good to take that step back, look at yourself as an experiment. And why am I not getting this piece? Or why is it not working? Why is it hard for me to have dinner ready each night? right? Whatever piece is difficult. And then think, so let's take dinner. Why is it difficult for me to have dinner ready at night? Okay, maybe your schedule is insane. And so then take a step back. How can I make either my schedule better or getting food, prepared and ready easier? And then, okay, what does that look? If I could put a crock pot meal in the morning, then maybe that's something that could help me that evening. Maybe if I meal prepped something more on a Sunday, then that could help me toward dinner on Tuesday, right? So it's really just picking apart those things and picking some way that you can help yourself to do better. Hey, Mary. And so, and we're just talking about being okay with, well, one, with failure, but also moving forward and accepting that some things are going to fail, but it's okay because you're going to learn from it. And then you can make progress and keep moving. So when you're all thinking about, like, what does failure look like in your nutrition plan? Where are places that you've failed?
Too much alcohol.
Okay. Too many treats, we'll call it.
Tracking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tracking's a big one.
Yeah, I'm right there. I was gonna say, at the beginning of this month, I was having a hard time tracking, and then I found the post-it note idea, and then I worked really hard on like tracking, and then Elizabeth decided that every time she saw a post-it note, she wanted it. So now I had to like put them away, and the only one that's visible is the one at my kitchen table, but I'm not always eating there, so I've kind of fallen off the last couple of days. Plus, John just headed out, so that added a wrench into it. But like, yeah, I definitely don't track. And then I only have them on sticky notes. Like, they're not organized at all. They're in my to-be book by each day, but it's just a pile of like 4 sticky notes each day.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how to go from there, looking at what is been tracked. So yeah, that's kind of where I have some room for improvement next month.
See, and that's a great way to look at it, right? Like you're trying some things and some of it worked for a while, great, right? And then there was a change, and then maybe it wasn't quite what it needed to be for you to continue. And so now it's a great time to adjust and look and say, okay, well, what will work better for me? But I love the fact that Elizabeth wanted to get them because clearly you were tuned into them, right? And so I'm sure she saw you working with the Post-it notes, which then she's like, okay, my mom likes these Post-it notes. I want to go see what they're all about.
Yes, that's exactly it. So today, I was talking to I'm in a breastfeeding group too, and I asked that question because I was getting really frustrated because she wanted to eat my post-it notes and I wanted them, like they were my special thing and they were working, and I was getting really frustrated when she would grab them and put them in her mouth. So I was trying to reframe, but I'm like, I want my post-it notes. So that's what they recommended, is like they're really important to me. She can see that. So I let her actually play with them. Like, I sat down with her, and today I stuck like 10 of them to the wall, and she didn't try to eat them all the time. Like, she did try to eat some of them. So I had to redirect her with the feeder that I had in the other hand. But like, she had so much fun.
Yeah.
And it was nice to be able to like take a back seat and be like, okay, so it's okay that she's using my post-it notes. Like, I have 4 more packs of them. Not a big deal. But I was just getting so frustrated that she definitely could see that they were valuable to me.
Yeah. But what I love about it too is you're trying something, seeing if it works for you. You're working at it, because that's another key. Things are not just your habits just not gonna automatically change. You have ingrained certain things into your day for many years. And so to go through a change, you will have to focus on it. You will have to practice it. And one of the things I talk about also is just focusing on one thing, just so it does get your attention, because if we're focusing on too many things, right, then it is hard to give it the attention it needs to really make the habit change. And so then you can work on that one thing, change the habit with it, and then do what we call habit stacking, right? So if you haven't listened to Atomic Habits, and it's a really, really great book for habits. And there's a lot of science behind different habit stacking, putting a habit with an action. So like with tracking, if you can find a certain time, a cue that you're always tracking, then it will be easier. It'd be easier for you to ingrain it in your day. So if you were to sit down with your food, if you track it before you take your first bite, or if you're planning your meals for the day and you just track your whole day, and then you know exactly what you're eating, right? And so you've already tracked it. And if you don't stray from it, but if you do, obviously write down anything you've added in. But if you write down your plan, stick to the plan. If you want to do it, it's hard to do it just once in a day, especially as you're just starting out, because there will be things you forget. But it's one of those pieces that you want to experiment with it in some ways to fit it into your life and how you're going to do it. I know some people use their phone, the app. Some people use, I think it was Julie, I think, that just put in a whole new nutrition tracker in the group. So like finding something that you feel connected to, the Post-it notes are awesome. Something that you feel is going to work in with how you are, what you do in your life, so that it then makes it that much easier. Mary, what specifically do you have a hard time with tracking?
I usually start the day like gangbusters. I get my workout in. As soon as I track my shake, I put all of that in for meal one, and it's all downhill from there.
So somehow, let's see, is it just because the day starts and then it's off and running and there isn't like a timepiece to it, or what happens?
Well, I work in front of a computer screen all day, and there's times where I don't even get up, and like, especially since I started working from home, I just get engrossed and I don't even stop for lunch because I'm just focused.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you guys, I'm just kind of getting back into my healthy routine. I have an injury, and now that I finally know what the injury is and how to modify until I can get it fixed, I've come back like gangbusters. It's awesome. And I'm 3 weeks into Lift More. I'm tracking my nutrition. I'm tracking my water. It's a mental thing as much as anything. So
yes,
it's
1,000%.
I will say what worked for me in the past was non-electronic, because I don't always have my phone and I hate being tied to my phone. And I know I'm the oddball and everybody always has their phone on them, but I cut out little colored squares. Oh, I love it. Somebody else's paper. I cut out little squares when I first did P90X and was following that nutrition plan years ago. I dealt myself cards. So when I had my breakfast, I took the cards out of one jar and I put them in the other. And then as I packed my lunch, I did the same thing. And when I got home at night, whatever cards were left in the starting jar is what I had for supper. And it was so easy.
I love that. I have not heard that one. That's awesome.
Yep. I moved them from one jar to the other as I used them.
That's similar to the wristbands that people were getting.
Exactly.
Do you remember that?
Talk about bracelets.
For 80-day obsession, everybody would get those bracelets or wristbands and then just move them from one wrist to the other.
Oh, wow, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, like you could get like the different colors and like a hair tie, basically, right?
Right.
And then different colors on one side, and then you just swap them over.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the jar idea too, and I think pen and paper mentally you grasp way more when you write stuff, when you are pen to paper on things, and then you are with your phone. So I think it's great. And that's the piece that everybody has to figure out for themselves, right? Like what are you next to? What can you carry around? What is going to be with you so that you can track as often as possible? And maybe Mary, it's just like an alarm, right? Like maybe there's some kind of reminder at 1 o'clock to be like, hey, did you track your lunch?
Yeah.
Or, hey, did you have lunch?
Did you have lunch? Yeah.
Because
Did
it
you leave
sounds like
your
you
computer? Yeah. Get up and, walk
you
around
get
the
up and
house for a
move.
second.
Yeah, yeah. So
Exactly.
I started going back to paper again because I was really struggling with portions and portion sizes, and those darn M&Ms were calling my dang name. And so I just switched back to paper again this week. So that's what I'm doing.
I
Hmm.
love it.
Yeah. But I forget what your original question was. I thought it was what you feel, what a failure is.
Yeah.
Is
What do you think failure looks like when it comes to your nutrition? So like just the
so
ways you can fail.
yeah, so for me, I am a self-sabotager.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my biggest failure. So I can be, doing fantastic for weeks and weeks and months and months and months. And all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I feel good. I look good. And then boom, there you go.
Yeah.
And so I think that in my mind is a failure.
Right.
Mhm.
So, did you ever read The Gap and the Gain?
Yes.
Yeah, right? Because that's
Hmm.
what it is. It's
Hmm.
it's
I
like
know.
this is too good. It's too much good. I don't,
Yep.
some reason you think it needs to stop. And but there's so many different things like that we're worried about failing on, or this is too good to be true, or can it really be like this? And so then we kind of get in our own way with things. So then it's taking that step back, right? Like, okay, what am I really afraid of in starting a nutrition plan and going all in on it? And then hear that, right? Whatever your answer is, what is my main concern? For me, it used to be, I'm going to do all this work and not have the change I think I should see. Like, I'm not going to come out looking like a bodybuilder figure model, right? So it's like, for me, then I'm like, well, then why even bother?
Right.
And so, but then it's like, okay, let's look at this, I really, it's almost like you have to look at yourself as a third person so that you take away anything you're, holding in. And then you got to be like, okay, well, how do I get closer to what I want? What can I still do to get closer to what I want, regardless of if I come out the other end looking like a supermodel? What can I do for myself now? Because that's going to feel better than how I feel right now anyway. And reminding yourself that, like, I look back at how inconsistent I was with eating right, but then you eat something like the quintessential diet salad and you're like, why am I not down 5 pounds? But somehow we've kind of created that in our mind that that's the result, and that's not right. It takes more than that. It takes us changing, it takes more effort than that, but it also just takes our mindset of, why would I be feeding myself this junk food or other foods the rest of the time? I feel like I went on a side tangent there, but it's so really just looking at what you feel like is holding you from the next step and getting better at your nutrition, because that's really the goal. You're never going to be perfect with it, but you can absolutely be way better. And then each step is better, and then each phase is better, because then when you do, let's say, drop off tracking, drop off something, your natural tendency isn't the same as it was a year ago. Maybe you would have grabbed the box of Twinkies a year ago, but now you're like, that's not really quite as good. Maybe I'll just make some sweets for myself. So it doesn't have all the chemicals and craziness in it. But that's still progress, right? You're still moving toward, you're still continually getting better. And so it's really just looking at how can I help myself to get past this failure roadblock mindset that something's not going to work or it's not the right time, and continue to move forward anyway. I know I have some people like things as simple as like, I don't want to cook because I'm not good at cooking. And like, what if I cook something that's not very good? Well, I've cooked all kinds of stuff that's not very good, but I still kept cooking, right? You get better at everything when you practice it. So saying you don't know how to meal prep at this point, that's okay. You start practicing now. You start with a few things. You make extra in a meal. If you don't know how to cook certain foods, but they sound good to you in a restaurant and you'd like to have them at home, just start trying them. Pinterest is amazing for these types of things, and Fixate has just about every ethnicity possible in their recipes, and a lot of them have cooking videos. So you can even go to the video and Bobby's sitting there cooking, showing you everything you're supposed to do. So whatever the roadblock is, big or small, it's just taking that next step forward and not worrying about what if it goes wrong, if you blow up the kitchen.
I know for me, when we were doing 80-day obsession and I had time nutrition down to a T, I was using my phone for alarms, and I had color-coded boxes for each alarm, and I just knew what I was eating that day because I planned it out ahead of time, and that planning really helped me to stay on track. So I didn't have, five greens at the end of the day to eat. That planning and using my phone for the alarms and tracking as well, just typing out what I was eating and taking pictures of it really helped me stay on track and get probably one of my best results.
Yeah.
Program.
I think there's a huge benefit in going all in on a nutrition plan. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. Many of us have done many plans. You learn so much about yourself and you gain confidence in your ability to do it. And you realize how great you feel doing it. And then you come out of that different. You may have some things come back in, revert some things, but you won't go all the way back. Like it's just, once you have gone all in and you realize what's possible for you, then you just that's like the next platform that you now begin on, and you're there until you take the next step. But yeah, 80-day was, the time nutrition was amazing. Like I don't know, that I would say that and gut protocol were my top, feeling great nutrition plans.
Well, and I would agree with gut protocol and your what you said earlier, how you don't revert back to, your old bad habits maybe as much if you do slip off, because, I used to think I would die without coffee, and I went 46 or whatever days was without coffee and I didn't die. And now I don't have it every day anyways. And I feel like it's better for me not to have it every day. Now, if you told me,
No, we're losing you a little bit.
That may be a different thing, but coffee I can give up.
I totally agree. Like I also, I took coffee completely away with the reset. And then with gut protocol, I did do 2 times a week, I think in the first round, then maybe I took it away completely. I can't remember. But now just naturally, I might have it up to 3 times a week. I do have it more on vacation, I'm finding, because it's like, I don't know, it just sounds really nice on vacation. But in my normal life, I have it a couple times a week and I have more energized because I feel like my body just feels better on energized than coffee. Like I don't have the downturn later. And it's fascinating, right? Because you're like, you did this thing for 3 weeks, but it transforms you in a different way. And then you realize what this other side looks like. You realize if the grass is greener or not, right? You realize what's happening on the other side of the street. And then you're like, oh, that's interesting. And maybe I can continue with this, or maybe I don't want to have this all the time. And it feels easier to say no to things.
So on that note about not drinking coffee and drinking Energize,
Yes.
the training video on Energize
Yeah.
for next month. If you guys haven't listened to that, it's really
it
good.
awesome?
Listen to it. Yeah,
Okay.
I listened to it today.
I can't wait. Well, I'll let's see. Next week we won't be able to, but maybe the week after we should put it part of the call.
Yeah, but it was a good one. So
So that's I think I've covered everything in my notes with it. If you want the confidence code, while it's been a really good listen, it's a little clinical and a lot of them talking about their research. So I don't know that it's like super enjoyable. So I mean, yes, it was good, but depends on where you're at with listening to things or reading things, if that sounds good to you. And then the perfection detox, I definitely took a lot of nuggets out of there that really, I think, helped me think about things a little differently. And that's the whole idea of tonight's call, is shifting how you think about things, because our bodies now are wherever our mind is now. And in order to get to whatever next place you want to be, if that's better in your nutrition, better in your fitness, whatever it is, it's going to take a different mindset. It's going to take a shift in something so that you can get to that next place. And so highly recommend, grabbing some books that help shift how you're thinking about things, or podcasts. They're super helpful. And then also just remembering failure is not the end, right? It's totally okay to try something and put your effort into it, because you will learn something from it. And then you can take what you've learned into the next step. So is there any thoughts, questions on any of that? It feels like summer here. I'm sweating like crazy. I don't even know what's happening right now. I don't even know what to do, but I can't move because it's so freaking nice. I'm like, I can't not for this one.
Very jealous.
Oh, well, Mary, we've survived 8 months of rain, so we deserve this day.
I'll give you that.
All right. Okay. So on like housekeeping notes, I am out of town next Thursday. So but I was going to ask if you guys want to still just jump on and talk to each other. You could totally do that. We could just not have a specific topic. So something to think about. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think we'll be traveling. So I don't know if I'll be here
You
anyway.
might not be here too. Bev, are you able to be on?
I can be, sorry. Jacob's on the phone with his music teacher. So I'm like sitting here just going. Trying to be quiet.
So
He's talking.
you can
What?
be on next week.
I can be, yeah.
So I'll just I'll pose the question in the nutrition chat and see if people want to just leave it as an open call and can jump on to say hi, or, just kind of keep it rolling. But then we'll be back again the next week after that. And then what is tomorrow for our Funky Friday?
Superhero.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
I gotta figure out. Oh, I think I have a Wonder Woman skirt.
I have a Wonder Woman.
I should have
top.
worn, dang it, I should have worn the leggings I wore today tomorrow. They would have looked really good with that. Burn it.
I'm confirming, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it
Okay.
is.
Okay.
It is. It's superhero day. It is.
Okay, thank you.
So
Mhm.
superhero day tomorrow, put your Funky Friday pictures in there. Meal prep class is May 7th, so a week from Sunday. I already have I think I talked about it last week already, but I already have the recipes. And they are Cinco de Mayo smoothie bowl, a Baja style California cauliflower ceviche tostada, and chicken mole.
Wow.
So,
Yum.
super excited. And so then, yeah. Is there anything anyone wants to talk about specifically with nutrition tonight, or questions or labels?
How much fat is a teaspoon? Like
Ugh,
in oil?
like
like-
in grams?
Yeah.
Ugh. Let me see if I can find that one chart I've seen. I mean, I don't know technically because, proprietary information. Let's see here.
I'm just curious because I have a cilantro lime rice, and it has 3 grams total fat for 1 cup, but I wouldn't be eating a whole cup.
Well, so
Yeah.
one tablespoon of unrefined cold pressed coconut oil is 14 grams. So divide that by 3, and that would be
Oh.
a teaspoon.
Okay.
But I
So about
don't know if it's like the same across the board, like if it's the
Right.
same for olive oil and peanut butter. I mean, well, let me look at the sun butter that I have here, peanut butter.
oh yeah, this is organic refined sunflower oil.
Okay, yeah, and though this is, so the sun butter that I have, 2 tablespoons is 18 grams. So that would be divided by 6. 18 divided by 6. So that's quite a bit less than what the coconut oil would be.
Yeah.
And the peanut butter is 16 grams for 2 tablespoons. So again, divide by 6, not less than coconut oil. So sounds like coconut oil is pretty fatty for
It
a
is.
teaspoon.
It is,
Um,
and a saturated fat.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Okay, so on this cheat sheet that I've seen before, it says 3 to 5 grams of fat is considered a teaspoon.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Now, this
That's
is a
about-
guess, so take it as a guess. Not,
Yeah.
not the full information. Yeah,
Yeah, so if you can see this, these are little like pouches that you cook in your microwave.
yeah,
It's cilantro lime rice, basically, but it has that refined sunflower oil in it. But it's 3 grams for 1 cup. And I wouldn't obviously be eating a cup of it, so.
well, it sounds like per serving, it's a teaspoon.
Yeah, per cup,
Yeah,
so, okay.
yeah,
That was my only nutrition question.
okay.
Wanted to clarify.
Anything anybody wants to talk about? I was thinking about talking about diet culture the next time we meet together. Like, I think, I mean, we know the general things, but more like some of the things that are subtle that we say or talk about or think about, like the idea of, oh, if I have that, I need to go exercise,
Yeah.
right?
Or the one that I really don't like is I earned this.
Yes, exactly.
That's part of the
That's-
self-sabotaging part thing.
Yeah, but that's very diet culture, but it's also something we just kind of use as like an everyday. And like, I just kind of want to talk about some of those things so we can either think about them a little more and find a different way You know what I mean? Just because I think sometimes we just kind of let things leak.
Right.
We let saying
Right.
just continue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Or we hear somebody else say it and it may even rub us wrong and we just let it go
Right.
instead of being like, well, but did you really? Like, I mean, why do you have to earn it? Like, just eat it and just be like, yum.
Right. Right. That made me think of David on Schitt's Creek. Just eat it, or Alexa, just eat it and be like, yum.
Well, but I mean, serious. That's how I feel. Like, why
Yeah.
do you have to earn it? Just,
Yeah.
separate those two.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things like that. That
Yeah.
just it'd be great to talk about all the different kind of pieces of that and how we can rephrase it, reframe it, and and toward a health esteem version, right? Toward things that help us instead of like make us feel guilty, shame, hold our progress. You can totally hear Elizabeth snoring, and I love it. Like, I don't
No, I
Yes.
was like, what is that?
I love it.
Oh, don't mute.
Aw.
That's super cute.
It was.
Yeah, you can
I could
totally
hear it.
don't even mute it. We love it. I totally feel that, Renee. Like I think a lot of people, there are pieces. No, do not be sorry. We love it. My gosh, it was adorable. But there's a lot of times we have that piece of things that's just kind of lingering, and it contributes to then how we feel about ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I definitely, when I started, I'm like, I want to be back to my high school weight.
Yes.
And as the time went on, I'm like, okay, let me think about this really. And I have gotten down to that weight, and it was after like 11 years on that journey, and it was during shutdown, and I had done the ultimate reset, and I probably lost all of my muscle, like so much of my muscle mass, and it was like I got there and I'm like, oh no, this is not where I want to be. But I wasn't trying to get there by that point either, because I realized like my body just isn't shaped the same way as I was when I was, 14, 15, 16
Right.
years
Nor
old.
should it be. It's
No.
been through a whole different journey.
No, things have shifted around a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about that next week or not next week, the week after. So what day am I thinking of here? Let me make sure I've got a. Okay. I am gone the 4th, the 11th. We will reconvene, and I'll put a poll in to see if anybody wants to just hop on and chat on the 4th. All right. Well, I don't want to hold everybody if there's nothing else we want to yap about right now.
So I have a great big announcement.
Okay.
If you are a firefly laying girl, the
I saw your
new-
post, and I'm like, should I be like concerned that you want to get off the nutrition call faster because you're like ready to have it over with? So
because I won. No, I'm good. I'm gonna go watch it now.
I heard Working Girls has a new new season out too, which is one of my faves.
Oh, do they? I didn't know. I don't watch that, but maybe I will. So, all right, girls, have a great night. I'll see you in the morning.
Recording here. Let me stop it, and then we'll take a picture.
Oh yeah, we need